now seeing is a new form of innovation. And this has been happening, I guess, for about the past 10, 15 years, but it's not always visible. And Professor Steve Flowers at Kent Business School has described it as the invisible industrial revolution, which is hiding in plain sight. Most models frame innovation as an internal process. And what that does, unfortunately, is to overlook a key set of innovators. And that's us. Users innovate too. Now, the book's crammed with examples of user-led innovation, but here's just a handful. So the skateboard, that's a product of user-led innovation. It was a bunch of surfers who needed to be able to practice the moves during the winter, couldn't get out on the sea, so they chopped up a surfboard, stuck a pair of roller skates on it. Hey presto, the skateboard was born. Linux and almost any open source software is a product of user innovation. The mountain bike was essentially created by cyclists cannibalizing other bikes to create a bike which could function as well off-road as it would on-road. And the World Wide Web itself is a direct result of user innovation. The humble potato chip, and I tell this story in the book, it was a collaboration between users and the producer. And I use this distinction quite a lot in the book. There are users, which is pretty much all people who use products and services, and then producers take those products and services and bring them up to scale. Over half of all new products are invented by the users themselves. It's a little understood phenomenon. In Africa, half of all mobile banking innovations came from the users themselves. And they generally, at least initially, they stemmed from the use of airtime cards, which then became a form of currency, which meant people could send money in mobile phone time. So, what I've found is that producers would have typically three range of responses to what I call people-powered innovation, user innovation. You might try and stop it. You might ignore it and hope that it goes away. By far the best option is to work with it. And Procter & Gamble, despite having a R&D team of over 9,000 people around the world, were finding life very difficult and they couldn't keep up with the pace of innovation. So A.G. Lafley, the CEO at the time, instructed them to go outside of the organization and find user innovators, essentially. And so what they did was to simply go out and open this invitation to anyone and said, we've got some technical challenges. If you have a solution to it, please let us know. Come and work with us. Or if you've got an idea for a new product, let's see if we can develop it together. And if it works, you'll be a partner with Procter & Gamble. It's been so successful that now 35% of all Procter & Gamble products have come from the user innovator community. It's about $22 billion a year in revenue. And Procter & Gamble have changed their motto to proudly found elsewhere. It's been so influential, and that's a really powerful example of the user mindset working alongside the producer mindset. So we didn't get here by accident. There's been a clear progression. First, we shared what we knew, which was collaborative knowledge. That was largely what my first book was about. And around about that time, we also started sharing what we owned, which was collaborative consumption, the sharing economy, Airbnb, Uber, anything that can be shared, any assets that we own have been shared now. So we've sort of moved on now to sharing what we make, which is collaborative creation. And that's what The Power of Us is about. But I speculated at the time of writing the book, in one of the earlier drafts, whether there'd be a fourth stage, which is to share what we make at scale, which you could call collaborative production. And to be honest, I wasn't sure, because user innovators tend to innovate to fix a problem that they've got, or their small community of friends have got. But they generally don't look to scale it up. But what I saw happening everywhere during the corona response convinced me that not only was this possible, it was actually inevitable, because we saw people who were working to produce PPE when governments were incapable of finding it. Scrub Hubs, an organisation in the UK which linked thousands of people who had a sewing machine and made scrubs. We saw breathing machines being developed in under 100 hours. Collaborations of unlikely bedfellows, like Formula One racing car teams with hospitals. And of course we saw food banks being set up to make sure that people who were sheltering would get a meal. So I'm convinced that we will see sharing what we make at scale in time. The former governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, talked about the coming artisanal economy, and we've seen this in craft bakeries, artisanal bread, craft breweries. He said that in an age where anyone can produce anything anywhere through 3D printing, where anyone can broadcast their performance globally, there's an opportunity for mass employment through mass creativity. So I think this is inevitable, and it's another reason why organizations need to bring that user innovator into their organization.